Nice and friendly, it goes a little something like this. Fuck the police, coming straight out the underground. A young nigga got his bag cause I'm brown. And I'm the undercover, so police think they have the authority to kill a minority. Fuck that shit, cause I ain't the one.
Hey guys, this is Copy. And today what I wanted to show you is Metasploit's Autopwn. And what that is it's an automated exploiter, meaning that it will use Nmap to scan for hosts, and then it will store those hosts in a database, and then it will use those hosts found and match them up against all of Metasploit's exploits in the framework and run them against it. Okay, so today I'm going to show you two ways. The first way being in Backtrack 2 using one database, and the second being in Backtrack 3 using a different database. So the first thing you need to do is make sure that your internet's up. Alright, so our internet's up. Now, the next thing you want to do is update Metasploit's framework. And to do that, what you're going to do is you're going to go to Metasploit, Exploitation Framework, Framework version 3, MSF update. And what that'll do is it will update old exploits, and it will add new ones to the framework. Alright, so the next thing you need to do is set up your database. In order for Autopwn to work correctly, it needs to use a database to store all of its findings in. Backtrack 2 comes equipped with Postgres, SQL, and a program called Ninja to help set that server up. So what you want to do is run Ninja, which is located under the Exploitation Framework. And what that'll do is it'll create a user named Postgres, so you'll be able to access the database. Alright, so now that Metasploit's opened, the next thing we need to do is actually create a database. Now, once we loaded the plugin db Postgres, we were equipped with a bunch of new commands, those being db underscore something. So in order to create a new database, you just type db underscore create. What that'll do is it will create a database. If you want to check to see if the database is up and running, type db underscore hosts, and if it shows up empty, that means everything is created correctly. If you want to destroy a database, type db destroy, and first thing you need to do is spell it right. And then if you want to recreate it, db underscore create. The next thing you can do is run Nmap. So you do db Nmap. And it runs the same exact way that the normal Nmapper would run, except for the fact that you can't use more advanced commands because you're not actually in a root shell. So what I like to do is type V so I get a verbal output, and then just do a standard scan of my network. And while that's running, everything that it finds will be stored in the database that we just created. Alright, so now that Nmap's finished, we can type db underscore hosts, and see all of the new hosts that have been added to the database. Alright, now it's time to run AutoPwn. In order to run AutoPwn, just type db underscore AutoPwn. Now AutoPwn comes equipped with a bunch of different options. If you want to just see which exploits would be run against the different hosts and match them up based off of the ports that are open, you do db AutoPwn -p -t. What that'll do is it will scan the database that we just created, and it will match up all the exploits that could be used against that host based off of which ports are open on that host. Alright, so if you want to pick a specific host, what you can do is db AutoPwn pt capital I, and then put in which host or range of hosts that you would like to use. And finally, if you want to run the exploit, you would do db AutoPwn p t, just to see, so you can match up the exploits, and then you would do e. You can also use a reverse shell connection, that's optional, and then if you want to, you can pick which IP you want. If you don't pick which IP you want, then it will just attack all of them. I'm going to pick my default gateway. And as you see, it's starting to run the exploits. Luckily, because my default gateway is up to speed with all of the security updates, I don't believe anything in here is vulnerable. Alright, so the next thing I wanted to show you is how to use AutoPwn in Backtrack 3. I find this method a lot easier to use just because it uses a different SQL server called SQLite3, and it doesn't require that you create an extra user in order to connect to it, so it takes out a whole extra step in running another program or creating another user to run the plugin. So the first thing that you want to do is make sure that your internet's up. And then the next thing you want to do is just make sure that your Metasploit console is up to date. And then now you can just run the framework. Alright, now we need to load the SQL server. So we're going to type load db underscore SQLite3. Alright, so now that it's loaded, we can create our database like we did before, doing db underscore create. And to check to make sure that everything's set up right, we can type db hosts, and if it's empty, then it means that everything was created correctly. Now we can run nmap. Because we're actually in a root shell, we're able to run more advanced commands. Alright, and now we can get to auto-pwning, if you will. As you can see, we have pretty much the same exploits as we did in the previous version. but we're just using a different database. And the reason I'm not selecting a specific host is because I only scanned for one host. Alright, there you go. It's running the exploits. Alright, so that's pretty much it. Make sure that you know what you're getting into when you do this, because you could really mess up somebody's network or even your own if you're testing it on yourself. So take it easy and be careful. Thanks.